I'd like to introduce our first speaker, the Honorable Doris Henderson Causey.
Good afternoon. Thank you, President Bellinger, for such a wonderful introduction to the Arlington Foundation Board of Directors, the Winston family, and most definitely to the Cummings family, the guest of honor, Mark and his wife, Melanie. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Well, I'll go ahead and get the elephant in the room out of the way. How do I know Mark? How does Mark and Doris connect? Well, one day, a long time ago, one night in Roanoke, and you know what happens in Roanoke stays in Roanoke. So I will not give you the details, but Mark and his entire family are my wonderful friends, especially his sisters, who I thought one of them was going to be here today, but she's not. But I love his sisters. And so because I loved his sisters so much, late one night in a Roanoke hotel, maybe Hotel Roanoke, I can't tell much of the details, but I fell in love with the family and they fell in love with me. And ever since then, Mark and I have been a team. But I am truly peacock proud that Mark invited me here today to speak at his wonderful award. Mark is one of Arlington's finest legal minds and his most dedicated service person I have known in a long time. No matter what Mark calls me, he said, Doris, can you do this? I say yes. I call Mark, this is what's going on, I need this. Mark says yes. It's amazing how he works. Every once in a while, you find those people on earth that are like angels. You mention an issue to them, you mention a problem to them, and the next thing you know, it's taken care of. Mark is a difference maker. He's a dedicated person who can make a big impact and in just a few small words or small action. He is someone who improves the lives of so many others around him. Mark is not just a lawyer. He's a tireless champion of justice, fairness, and professionalism. No matter where you go, you can find Mark, even if it's volunteering at your local legal aid. I'm gonna say it again. Even if it's volunteering your 6.12% time at legal aid. Okay, I'm gonna speed it back up. But Mark's contributions extend far beyond the courtroom. Like William L. Winston, Mark embodies that same spirit of excellent service and doing right, whether mentoring young law students, young attorneys, volunteering his time with the Virginia State Bar, or within the local community. He lends his expertise to support critical community initiatives. Mark continuously demonstrates what it means to give back and to lead with purpose. First, Mark is such a beacon in public service. And at the bar, we have these rap sheets that tell you everything that you do in the bar. So I said, I've known Mark to do a lot of things, including during my time of presidency. But I did call the bar and I said, hey, bar, what's Mark Cummings' rap sheet? So, Mark, your rap sheet goes like this from the bar. Bar Council, 17 years representing Arlington. Nominating Committee, 3 years. Committee on Bench Bar Relations, 6 years. Professionalism course, faculty, 3 years. And currently he serves on the Diversity Committee, and he also helped out in publication. Mark has such knowledge and education of the American system of jurisprudence. He's a legal educator and mentor. He doesn't just find jobs or internships for law students. He also does it for people who seriously, he met this one kid from Mississippi who's from DC, who goes to Ole Miss Law School, went to Alcorn State University in Mississippi. Kid walks up to him, says, hello, I'm interested in doing patent law. Does Mark do patent law? No. Do we know many patent lawyers? Probably, yeah, here in Arlington, but in Virginia, in Richmond, no. Do you know that kid now has a full-time job, all by just saying hello to Mark? So that's what I mean by when you find those people who are like angels on earth that just say, hey, I know somebody who does this. And Mark and I, we kid ourselves. We know enough to be dangerous. But he loves to promote the democratic ideals. In that he loves the right to fair trial. My 5 minutes are up, but you guys are gonna have to listen to a little bit more. Sorry. He loves the right to a fair trial. Mark was lead counsel in the first civil case that used the Batson challenge, and he argued that case all the way to the Supreme Court and won. His unwavering dedication to the advancement of the rule of law can be seen in his creation of a CLE that you can currently get CLE credit for that's called Racial Reconciliation, Civil Rights, and Jury Abuse in Virginia. We first did it at one of the ends of court, but I'm not for sure we got CLE credit for it. But Mark, Dred Scott's great great granddaughter, and myself presented this CLE on race relations. It was born out of Mark's own idea. Yes, I was there, but I didn't do as much as Mark and Lynn Jackson did. But that came out of the birth of the George Floyd era. And Mark made sure that everyone, especially in the legal community, didn't consider that to be taboo, that race relation reconciliation needed to happen. And Mark made sure that we presented that CLE, and the Virginia State Bar considered it one of its showcase CLEs. And that was a wonderful, wonderful CLE. And if you ever get to see it, please do. Mark, you're famous for many things. Representing Deep Throat, of course, as we know, W. Mark Felt, being a husband, being a father, brother, uncle, colleague. But most of us know and appreciate your genuine caring about others and the rule of law. When it comes to service, which inspires us all, this award reflects all you have achieved and the many lives you have touched throughout your career, including mine, and I'm most grateful for that. It's a testament to your enduring commitment to our profession and our community. Melanie, we know he couldn't have done it without you, but on behalf, and as a past president, Ed Wiener's in the room, so he can attest to this, on behalf of all the past presidents, and on behalf of over 50,000 members of the Virginia State Bar, and I am one who has personally witnessed your dedicated service, not only to the bar, not only to the bar, the legal community, but also Arlington, but to from the law students who you've helped from here to Mississippi and beyond, law school graduates, and the citizens of the Commonwealth. So on behalf of all of those people, especially the 50,000 plus members of the Virginia State Bar, and those who are gathered here today, I offer my heartfelt congratulations on this well-deserved, earned honor. May you continue to inspire us all as a model citizen, lawyer, mentor, and friend. Congratulations, my dear friend, on winning the William L. Winston Award.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Joanne F. Alper. Judge Alper is well known for her service to Arlington and the Commonwealth of Virginia. She enjoyed a successful domestic relations practice before becoming a judge and serving in both the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court and the Circuit Court here in Arlington.
And I am really honored to be here today to speak about the recipient of this year's William L. Winston Award, my dear friend Mark Cummings. The Winston Award is very important to me, as I think it is to many of us who've been around the Bar Foundation for a long time. I was there when it was created in 1990 as the brainchild, essentially, of Betty Thompson, and awarded to Judge Winston as the first recipient. It is the highest honor that the Arlington Bar Foundation awards, and I was a founding and long-time trustee of the foundation. And the purpose of the award, and it says so right on the award itself, is to honor and recognize a member of the Northern Virginia community, not just a lawyer, not just a judge, but a member of the community for long-standing public service, promotion of democratic ideals, and advancement of the rule of law. Those were noble ideals in 1990, and they are equally as important today. After the first award was given to Judge Winston, who served this county, as you heard, as a lawyer, a member of the General Assembly, and as a judge, and then chief judge of the Arlington Circuit Court from 1966 to 1998. And I was fortunate enough to succeed him. I always say you could never take his place, you could never replace him, but I was lucky enough to succeed him. And he created and endowed this community with so much of the ideals that the award carries with it. So it's a very special award. And as you can see from the list of recipients on the program from 1991 until today, it's an extraordinary group of lawyers, judges, public servants, and members of the community. And I am delighted that today we're going to be adding the name of Mark Cummings to that long and distinguished list. I've known Mark since around 1977. He was a student at was then the International School of Law, now George Mason, and he came to the firm where I was a young lawyer, young associate, Leonard Cohen Gettings and Shear, as you saw on the program. And of course, it's a little bit of getting the old gang together today because David Shear from those days is here, and Carol Capsalis, who actually began with our firm as the receptionist in 1982, and look where she is today. So we had quite a group, and Mark came, and it was difficult back in those days. I don't think Mark would deny it, for students at the International School of Law to get jobs with firms in Arlington or anywhere in the region. But we hired Mark, and we found out right away that we had a diamond. He worked with me as a law clerk, and one of my most interesting cases, and because I'm only limited to 5 minutes, I can't tell you the entire story, but it includes the police in Alexandria issuing a search warrant for videotapes that our industrial client had that were of an adult variety back in the day when you could have the VHS tapes and Betamaxes or VCRs, and they took, instead of just taking a couple, they took the entire inventory. And of course, something's not obscene until the court says it's obscene. So, I went to court. I think it was interesting that as the only woman lawyer in the firm, the senior partner, Harvey Cohen, picked me as a young associate to go to court. Criminal law was not my specialty, to quash the search warrant. I got the search warrant quashed, but I couldn't get the judge in the General District Court in Alexandria to order the tapes to be returned. So I had to file a 1983 action in federal court in Alexandria, in U.S. District Court. And Mark worked with me on that, worked on the pleadings. We get down there on a Friday in the old courthouse on Washington Street, and Mark and I are waiting through the day, and everybody's looking at the Alexandria Commonwealth attorney, wondering, why are you here in federal court? And I won't tell you the expletive I heard him call me, because it was 1978, why I had him there on the case. But ultimately, the Honorable Albert V. Bryan Jr. heard the motion, granted my motion, quashed the search warrant, and ordered that the tapes be immediately returned to me. And it went so far, as Mark will tell you, as having his secretary, because I didn't go with an order back then, that wasn't always done, type up the order for me, signed it. Mark and I went over to the Alexandria Police Department. It was a snowy early March, snowy and icy, carried 50 or 60 of these great big videotapes up from the basement because they weren't helping us, and the VCRs, put them in the trunk of my car. Car goes, we're driving up the parkway toward Arlington, getting them out of Alexandria, so they weren't going to be available for the following week when he was going to issue a subpoena from the grand jury to get them. So I called that my one criminal case. We won, but Mark worked with me, and you say, gee, what kind of interesting cases do you get in this firm? Well, we got them all, as you know. And so that's where Mark's career started. He did great work with us on civil and criminal cases, and he impressed the partners so much that he's offered him to become an associate when he graduated from law school in 1978. And thereafter, he threw himself into everything that came his way, and it was a wide variety of things, ranging from foreclosure sales to work on high-stakes, white-collar federal criminal cases with Brian Gettings, and complex and interesting white-collar criminal cases out in Las Vegas, Nevada with David Shear. In 1983, Mark and David left Cohen Gettings and started their own firm as Shear and Cummings. And during the 41 years that followed, they built a great firm with the highest reputation for excellent representation of their clients. And, we all know that as lawyers, the kind of lawyers who have great reputation and do great work for their clients. But you also know it because when I became a judge, it was recognized by the judges on the bench, not only in Arlington, but all the judges in the region that I came in contact with. And during the same time that Mark was building an extraordinary legal career, he was also pouring his heart and soul not into only the practice, but into giving back to the bar and the community. You heard that he served as president of the Arlington Bar Association in 1990 to 91, which was an important time that many younger lawyers may not remember, but it was after the fire in the courthouse. And we had to get some, there was great community service, as I recall, for building a new jail, which was not caused by the fire, but that was already in the works. But getting the taxpayers to want to fund bonds to build another courthouse, that was a little different. And Mark worked with the police department and others to get the community support that was needed to build our beautiful, what was I still call the new courthouse, but has now been there since 1995. He also made an extraordinary contribution through the work he did at the juvenile court driver's licensing ceremony. And, I assume most people know that if you're under 18 in Virginia, you have to get your driver's license. I assume it's still true. It was when I was on the bench and thereafter, but at a ceremony presided over by a JDR court judge. So that happened, and that was going on. And when I went on the bench, before I took the bench in 91, Mark had come up with the idea, and it was a great idea, of speaking to the ceremony, speaking to the students there about the law and the things they should know once they have their driver's license. But we were using, when I started, a generic don't drink and drive video, which was probably, I have no idea how old it was, but it really wasn't engaging to the kids or the parents. Mark came up with the idea to basically create our own video, to do something to work with the new students that would be more relevant to it. And so the Bar Foundation funded, and Mark put together, produced, get the kids and the police to act in it, a video called A Victim of Circumstance. And we were able to get Arlington's own Katie Kirk to come to the courthouse on a Saturday as we were finishing the production and actually do the introduction for that. I think it's still being used. I know it's been used for a very long time, and it was far more relevant to those young drivers and has made impressions. I know, I got firsthand reactions when my kids both got their licenses and saw it. But the video was so important and so impressive, and it was Mark's work that put that together, that it received a National Award for Excellence in Public Service Film category. It's called the Crystal Award, and it's actually still on display today at the Bar Office. And Mark, as you know, has been a strong member of the Bar Foundation since 1990, serving as chair in 2001. But even after his service as chair, he stayed on. He's an active member of the foundation, and he received the foundation's finest award in 2014, for outstanding fundraising activity for Bar Foundation. And in 2019, he received the Campbell Smith Thompson Award for extraordinary contributions to the philanthropic mission of the foundation. And for those who don't know, that's named after three people: George W. Campbell, who was basically, the foundation was his idea when he was president of the Arlington Bar the year after I was in 1983. Ken McFarland Smith basically was a longstanding member of Arlington legal community, a substitute judge, and he kick-started us. I was on the board when he came on, to raising more money and doing the kinds of things we can do now. And of course, Thompson was Betty Thompson, without whom this foundation would never have existed. Mark Cummings has also been active in many other local and statewide organizations, as you see from the program and as you heard from Judge Causey. You're going to also hear about his work as a teacher and a mentor from other speakers. But I want to focus on this end with Mark's work and leadership of a foundation that's not technically law-related, and that is the Vicki Collins Charitable Foundation, which I learned about for the first time basically because Mark and I are Facebook friends, and I started seeing all these posts about the Vicki Collins Foundation. He's been a trustee of the foundation for 21 years, and I want to read to you because I think this says so much. I'm going to read to you from what it says on the foundation's website. Vicki Collins was an active 31-year-old Senate staffer on Capitol Hill when her life was forever changed. In the fall of 1991, Vicki suffered a life-altering stroke that left her with locked-in syndrome. She was literally locked into her body and was unable to move or talk, but she could see and hear with some difficulty. Vicky loved people, especially children. She was saddened by the plight of indigent and less fortunate children who did not have the resources that enabled her to have some comfort in life. She wanted to use her assets to help children with special health care needs by providing them financial support. So she achieved her passion. She turned to her trusted attorneys, David Shear and Mark Cummings, to help her achieve that. And when she passed, her foundation was funded with her assets and her passion became a reality. Since 2000 and since her death, the Vicki Collins Charitable Foundation has awarded nearly $2 million in grants to help children with special health care needs in the Washington metropolitan area. The grants have been used for a number of needed causes, from funding the Arlington Pediatric Clinic to providing wheelchair-accessible vehicles to the families of disabled children. That's the end of the quote. Mark's work on behalf of this foundation has improved life for so many people, and the foundation itself has received numerous awards for its efforts in making a positive difference for the children of the community. All of these accomplishments by Mark, together with those you'll hear about, you have heard and will hear about from other speakers, were done while he was also actively practicing law with complex and challenging cases and being a devoted husband to Melanie and father to Grace. Thinking about all that Mark has done and how many people, known and unknown, have been touched by his work and generosity, I'm sort of this in a little way going to echo what Kasi just said. It makes me think about that classic Jimmy Stewart Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. We don't realize how many people's lives are affected by the work and the passion of our lives. Mark embodies the purpose of the Winston Award, as you can clearly see by his long-standing public service, promotion of democratic ideals, and advancement of the rule of law. His presence among the list of recipients of this award distinguishes the group even more. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you, Judge Alper. Our last speaker is Michael L. Davis. Mike was a successful trial attorney for 35 years before joining George Mason University Antonin Scalia Law School as an assistant professor of law. He was the recipient of the inaugural Law School Teaching Excellence Award. He is also a board member and the immediate past president of the Arlington County Bar Foundation.
Some of you may know that before I coming to the law school several years ago as a full-time faculty member, my practice was mainly concentrated in the defending of people who got sued for wrongful death or personal injury. Many of those cases I defended were filed by Mark Cummings and Mr. Scher. Some cases went to trial, but the vast majority of those cases resolved and settled. One might say that Mark and I are in the same business, the check signing business. The only difference was I signed them on the front and he signed them on the back. But I take some small pride in knowing that at least in some small part, I assisted in the education for UML of your daughter at the University of Alabama. So thank you, Mark. I can tell you that in all these years that I've been dealing with Mark in the legal world, that even in the most challenging cases, Mark never misrepresented the law or facts, never issued a snide remark, and never took a cheap shot in order to get an advantage in the courtroom. That's why judges and juries always love Mark. He has always represented his clients zealously, but with civility. To the younger lawyers and law students in the room, today, please take note of Mark's professionalism and understand that zealous representation and civility are not mutually exclusive, something that sometimes gets lost in our world today. So let me pivot for a minute and share with you another aspect of Mark, which some of you may not know. Mark has served as an adjunct professor at the law school for the past 24 years. He is a respected and popular teacher of the law to our evening students. I don't know where he finds the time, but he shows up for class. Most of the students do too, by the way. Anyway, Dean Randall can certainly attest to his abilities, and the response from his student evaluations are over the moon. But there's a lot more to that. Aside from my own teaching responsibilities, I have the privilege of being the director of the law school's Virginia Practice Externship Program. This is where we place students in the legal community, in judges' chambers, in prosecutor's office, in private practices. Many of you judges and lawyers in the room have taken part in the program, and thank you so much. And I hope you continue to do so. But there's no one that's taken on more externs over the years than your law firm, Mark, and you know that, Sher, Cummings, and Ellis. As we speak, I think you have 3 students in your office, and I think they're here. Yeah, there they are. Welcome, thanks for coming. But I can tell you over the years, Mark takes on externs, and if you stop afterwards and talk to them, you'll learn a lot about his mentorship. But Mark, and I got more coming for you next semester. I hope you know that. So when I look around the room today and I see so many students, some who have graduated and now are successful attorneys in their own right, but they would be nowhere today without you, Mark. Your mentoring, your teaching, and your guidance. Mark, I'm humbled and honored that you asked me to speak today. You're not just a good friend, you're a great lawyer and a mentor by day, a successful teacher at night, and just an all-round noble and decent human being. You deserve this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable George D. Varoutsis. Judge Varoutsis served on the Arlington Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court for 24 years before retiring from the bench in 2022. He is also a longtime member of the Foundation's Board of Directors. I invite Judge Varoutsis to the podium to present the 2024 William L. Winston Award.
Thank you, Alyssa. And I had remarks prepared about Mark's stellar career, but I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody else says. But I'm so happy for Mark, and it's probably appropriate that I'm giving him this award because not only is he my best friend, but I was able to witness everything that he's done pretty much his whole career. And if I haven't known him longer than anybody here, I've at least known his family longer than anybody here because his older brother, Eric, was like a big brother to me when I was a law student at the University of Richmond. So how about that? And by the way, Eric's daughter, Whitney, who nobody's mentioned, is an famous comedian, actress, and would have been here today, except she's producing a television show right now, but Whitney Cummings and my daughter were actually born last month, 42 years ago. But anyway, Mark, you want to come up and receive the Winston certificate and pencil drawing, which is interestingly, this is a pencil sketch of the Arlington House that's we've given to every recipient of this award, starting with Betty Thompson 35 years ago. So this is a replica of the house, and you can look at it once I give it to Mark. He's seen it many times, and he actually presented this to me 5 years ago up here. So it's going around. What goes around comes around. So the Arlington County Bar Foundation know all persons that Mark D. Cummings is hereby awarded the 34th Annual William L. Winston Award in grateful recognition of his long-standing service and sacrifice to the public and the legal profession as a diligent and competent counselor at law, as a legal educator and mentor, and for his promotion of democratic ideals and his faithful advancement of the rule of law through his support of the bar and the courts of Arlington County, the City of Falls Church, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the nation, and for his constant belief in the value of philanthropy and diversity done in the County of Arlington. The 19th day of November 2024, signed by President Alyssa Belanger and Juanita Ferguson, Secretary. So thank you, Mark. And by the way, I've enjoyed so much for over 20 years being involved with him in that licensing ceremony, and I look forward to it every month. He was great with the kids, and he really probably prevented a lot of bad driving in Arlington. So anyway, congratulations, Mark. Mark's going to have a few remarks.
Back in May, when the board of directors, we had a meeting, and there came a point in the meeting where the chair said, "Mark, would you mind going out in the hallway for a few minutes?" And I couldn't imagine that I'd be here today with people that I love and respect and admire and get inspiration from. But as I was walking out, I was like, what could this possibly be? Is this going to be an intervention? Did they find the vodka in the freezer? But no, and I'm honored to be here. And as I've been to many of these award ceremonies right here in this room, and also at Army Navy, Adam. We had it there a couple of years. And I think Alyssa said this was the highest honor the Bar Foundation gives. So I'm very humbled, and I'm not normally a humble guy, but I am today. And I want to thank the board, Alyssa and Mike and Doris and Joanne. Thank you so much. It means so much to me. I wouldn't be here without the support and love of my wife. No. Can't look at her. Late nights teaching, weekends, moot court. Oh, I got moot court this weekend. Well, I thought that was going to be in February. Well, that's the Costello competition. This is the Thatcher competition. These are practice runs, state bar meetings, picking up Dred Scott's great-great-granddaughter at the airport and driving her to Williamsburg and chauffeuring her around for the event that Doris talked about. She's currently training to be a SCAN CASA court-appointed special advocate. I'm very proud of her for that. She's also involved in several community fundraising efforts herself to benefit the community. I'm grateful to my law partner, David Scheer, for his support, advice, and business acumen, Mr. Scheer. Keeping the ship of law afloat and on a steady course. I also want to mention Adam Collins and Claire Gorman. Adam is our associate, and Claire Gorman is our office manager, and they watch my back. And they keep the office running, and they keep me organized. And sometimes my attention deficit syndrome kicks in, and they remind me, well, you got to be out in Prince William County tomorrow. What are you talking about, going swimming or having a... Yeah. So I'm very thankful for Adam. I've got the best crop of law clerks. They're sitting over here, and I'd be remiss if I mentioned Taylor and his lovely wife, who were Nicole well, not Johnson anymore, is it? Their desks were next to each other in the office, and we got a little suspicious when we started seeing them holding hands. But we had a case against the Securities Exchange Commission a few years back, and I don't know how we would have gotten through that without you guys. And thank you so much. You made me look good when actually you all did most of the work. I want to express my appreciation to mentors. Some have been mentioned, that Joanne mentioned, Joanne being one of them, but Brian Gettings, Frank Dunham, Harvey Cohen too, but Brian and Frank, they're deceased now. These lawyers were giants, and I didn't realize just how great they were. Brian Gettings, he created, what was the statute that he created? Thank you. Racketeering Corrupt Organizations statute. He was working up on the Hill and created that statute. Had faith in me. I had to cross-examine or examine 39 witnesses in the FBI civil rights trial, and I was a year out of law school. I mean, you know, that was faith. That was really faith. Especially Justice Russell, who taught trial advocacy. Lee, we were in the same class together. He taught trial advocacy, and to this day, he is a source of wisdom. He won the award here a couple years back, and I had the privilege to drive him up from Richmond to be here. And he is so wise. He was good for the law school. He basically put the law school on the map. Got it to be George Mason, made the introductions. So I'm happy he's still with us. Numerous other lawyers have led the way in philanthropy here. Betty Thompson's name was mentioned, Ken Smith, George Campbell, Bill Dolan. I especially want to mention Bill Arts, he's here. And my deceased partner, John Ellis. And actually the idea of the Bar Foundation started with a luncheon, and they got George Campbell involved soon after that, but I think it was John Ellis's brainchild that got you guys started. And I'm glad you're here, Bill, because you've been a stalwart supporter of the Bar Foundation, even in retirement now. And I look forward to seeing you at these events for many years to come. You mentioned Vicki Collins, Joanne, and I'm grateful for knowing Vicki Collins, who taught me and taught my law partner courage over a horrible adversity. And she left a legacy of love and hope for indigent disabled children in our midst. I'm also pleased that Karen Schauffeld could get here today. She's a great supporter of Inova Loudon Hospital. She's founder of 100 Women Strong, a noted philanthropist. She's got her own Wikipedia page. You can look her up, and thank you for being here. You honor me. There's only one more page. Lee Corey, who's also here, a great humanitarian, very generous supporter of the Virginia Hospital Center. And if you don't mind, you gave $3 million to the hospital center. So when you're in the emergency room or have to go to the hospital, think about this young lady seated here right in front of the podium. Mark Thrash is here somewhere. There you are. He is the office philosopher. And he doesn't know this, but I've got great admiration for him. He took a sabbatical and spent a year at the University of Barcelona studying Spanish, and then I think 3 or 4 months at a coffee plantation in El Salvador to learn conversational Spanish to better represent his clients. He has quite a Hispanic clientele. That just so moved me, and I so admire him. He's also a philosopher. He's got a philosophy degree from the University of Virginia, and he asked me, I was a month or two ago, he said, so what are you going to say at the award ceremony? I said, I'm thinking about something to leave the crowd with, something that they can take out of this room. And he said, well, what's it going to be? I said, I don't know. I'm reading Socrates. And and I realized that I'm not Socrates. I'm not a philosopher. But I'll leave you with this. Peter Greenspun and I were interviewed in March of 2007 for the George Mason Law News. It was a publication that they had back then. And I just, as I was looking for something to say to leave you with, I found this. And this is something I said back in 2007, and I think it's appropriate. And I'm being quoted. I have a bulletin board by my computer where I put up thank you notes from clients to remind me how important a role you play in people's lives. Whether they are injured, sued, or charged with a crime, you have profound effect on their lives. It's a great responsibility we have. I think it's very important for lawyers to remember they make their living from people with problems. In turn, lawyers must try to give something back to the community. I'm going to remember everybody in this room for as long as I live. And thank you for being here. I'll be hanging around if I didn't get a chance to shake your hand or greet you when we started. Thank you so much.